Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. It's your host, Eddie Arnell, my man, G Witt, and my other man, baby. Mr. J. Lou.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, fellas? We back with another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. Another week of training camp updates. A lot going on with the Titans this week. A lot of excitement, guys, that hit the field this week. A lot of what we thought was going to be some unknowns for a couple of players, and we see them on the field getting into some action. But before I start this show, let me say this. I want to dedicate this show. I'm gonna hold this together to Cortland, our cousin, Grover's granddaughter. I want to dedicate this show to her, man, Cortland Adams and her family. Just keep them in prayer, okay? All right, so I had to get it out of the way. Sorry about that, fellas.
Yes.
But
No, most definitely understand. Yeah,
that's fine. All right, so what have we learned, fellas, after 9 days of training camp? What have we learned about this 2021 Tennessee Titan football team?
Well, I'll say this. Okay, the one thing we've learned is that the medical staff at the Titans do a miraculous job. Caleb Farley, Bud Dupree, and Taylor Lewan are all on the field. They're all practicing. Your concerns about the right tackle position are well-founded. Christian Fulton had to get smacked in the face in order to understand what he needed to do.
Right.
So did the rookie right tackle that we drafted out of North Dakota State. So it's going to be and they are, bottom line is what they're doing this year, man. They're definitely not taking first place in the AFC South last year for granted. They are definitely doing everything they can because their mind is on the Super Bowl. Their mind is not on just making it to the playoffs.
Exactly.
Now, I 100% agree. We've also learned that the arrogance of the kicking game and backup quarterback is still going to be suspect in these first 2 weeks. I think what we've also learned is what, listening to you guys last year a lot talk about Mike Vrabel. I think the players are starting to realize he's not a defensive coordinator because a lot of conversation you heard come out this week was how having a true D coordinator, the communication's better. And the only thing we know that was different last year was Vrabel had his hands all in the pot. If Vrabel can just act like the CEO and let his coordinators do everything else, he might be okay in this league because he's a good head coach, but he's a terrible head coach when he wants to get involved in everything. And I think hearing Jayon Brown, I think that was his first podium interview he's done in a while, hearing him and hearing everybody else who's been around talk about the communication difference, that to me, that's a significant piece that I think is underlined on how great we will see this defense be this year.
Yeah, and it's funny because, as you mentioned, me and G had a lot of conversations during the season last year on every show we were doing about that one word that you brought up was communication. It came up a lot of the players' interviews, even some of the coaching interviews, like, all right, is it the coaches communicating to the players or is it the players communicating with each other? So now we think we know anyway, that the issue was nobody liked what Vrabel was doing, the system he was trying to implement. And now that you have one voice, and as like we said last week, as long as he stays out of the headset for the defense should be fine.
Right. So that's the whole thing. I mean, like I said, as long as he's got that fantasy out of his head of him being a DC, the DC should be okay. The defense should be okay. Because the bottom line is, and he's just got to recognize the fact and just admit it, he's not a DC.
Right.
He's just not. Even though he's a defensive guy, he's not a DC.
Exactly.
So leave it alone. Let your coordinators do their job. And even Shane Bowen was talking about how good it is, calling the plays and the players understanding that the buck stops with him.
Right.
Yes.
It doesn't go any further. So that's what they want, and that makes a team a whole lot cohesive. Because let's just get it straight. Mike Vrabel is a great head coach, I think.
Yeah.
I think he has a great feel for the game. He knows how to manage people. But as far as being a coordinator and things of that nature, and he's good with the overall game plan. Don't get me wrong. He's as a head coach, you're going to be involved in those things. But the bottom line is calling the plays has to come down to your coordinators, and you have to let them do their job. So his job is to make the decision on 4th and 1 playing games like he did last year when he had your boy Jonathan Joseph go out there and they got a penalty for too many men on the field, and that gave him an extra timeout without having to call one. And what did he do? It parlays it into the situation where he can go down the field, tie the game, and go into overtime. So those are the type of things you want from your head coach. You don't want them calling the plays.
Exactly. And like you said, if he could just maintain that general manager overview, I think we'll be all right. And so here's the exciting news, though, guys. So we saw Bud Dupree hit the field this week. Even before that, we saw Caleb Farley hit the field this week. Two guys that we all thought that we weren't going to see anytime soon because they weren't going to rush him back. So you must know and understand that these guys are healthy enough to be out there practicing with this team. And I mean, it's a great thing to feel. I mean, what kind of excitement there has been this week, getting two of the main pieces of this defense, this overhaul that we were talking about, this new makeover of this defense, to show up on the field this week and get in some action, and not necessarily in the team practice of the camp, but individual drills and position drills. And so, great to see those guys on the field this week.
Yeah, I mean,
It's that G Witt mentioned it earlier. The doctors for the Titans.
Oh,
you done cut out on this, Jabbar. But go ahead, G Witt, while he get his audio straightened out.
well, here's the thing about it, and yeah, it's a lot of excitement because first of all, what you like is what the players bring, and that's what you really like. But more than that, you see that they're able to get out there and work, and that's what we were not expecting. You're not expecting to see them play in the preseason games, but the fact that they're out there on the field, able to put the work in, getting ready for the regular season, that's what you want to see. I mean, because the bottom line is this: what you like is that you see that Bud Dupree's enthusiasm and work habits on the field is contagious.
Right.
You see Caleb Farley's enthusiasm and the fact that he's attached himself to Jackrabbit to learn all that he can for the position, understanding that he's going to see playing time.
Exactly.
He's going to see the playing time, so he's trying to get himself ready. And when you see that all the way through the field on the team, that's nothing but contagious for everybody else. All of a sudden now, everybody, all you're hearing on the field is how hard everybody is working. There's none of this, I'm going to be riding the bike on the sideline where everybody's working. No, everybody's trying to get on the field. The only person you really don't have to worry about on the field right now is Julio Jones. Even though he's not practicing, my thought process is that they're saving him. They're like, okay, just get yourself completely healthy and you come out here and do your job. And the thing you like about them is that they're coaches on the field. They're making the jobs for the coaches a whole lot easier.
Exactly.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But yeah, what I was gonna say, and I heard a lot of what G was saying. What you starting to see with Caleb coming back and Bud coming back, you're starting to see that swagger that we saw from this defense in 2019.
Right.
If you look at all the reports that's coming out of practice, and again, I know we're not going with a fully first team offense, but the defense is making it tough on the offense.
Yes, sir.
In practice, in team and 707s and 1111s, and you're starting to see a lot of that depth come to fruition. So it's great to see. I think the one that really I was glad to see back on the field was Caleb. You just never know when it comes to those back injuries how you're going to recover from that.
Exactly.
I mean, we've seen ACLs. I mean, modern medicine now knows you can come back in 9 months, but for a back injury, and then we also got to remember Caleb ain't played football in over 2 years. He opted out last year with COVID. So to see him coming back, see him flying around the ball, another MVP, and it goes again to show that J-Rob atones for his mistakes last year. Jackrabbit is a football player.
Yes,
and
sir.
for him to come in and know that Caleb is the future, he's probably got a short window here, but to go ahead and take him under your arm and some of the other DBs and teach them on the field, you just love to see it. And you can't, it's exciting to see what this defense is going to be capable of doing with all that now.
Absolutely.
G Witt, I'm gonna tell you what it reminds me of. As they bring all this talent in, is back some years ago when they would bring all this talent in to create that competition. You like the competition. You mentioned Christian Fulton. He hadn't had the best account of anybody, but here in the last few days, since Caleb Farley been on the field, he's been balling because he knows that if he's gonna see that field, he's gonna have to beat Caleb Farley out. eventually it's going to come down to those two starting at that opposite corner of Jackrabbit. So good to see the competition on the field. The talent is there on this team. You know, I love the reports that are coming out. The defense is playing with a lot of swagger, a lot of tenacity. You know, T.R. Tart, Jeffrey Simmons, and Danico Archer. My man, Danico Archer, that's who I'm rolling with him all year. They are dominating the offensive line. And so, you know, that's a good thing because it's going to make our offensive line better because, you know, last year, the Titans struggled with the penetration up the middle in particular and the pass rush. So it's good to hear that coming out of camp early. I know it's just 9 days of practice, but it's still good to hear.
Yeah, and the thing about it, that the one thing that I would say that's concerning to me right now, and Jay Lou and I was talking about it yesterday, the backup center. Man, we got problems.
We got a lot of
problems. Ben Jones has got to be healthy throughout the season, man, and whoever else is the second stringer got to be healthy because the bottom line is the guy who they're using right now. When you have a bad snap when the quarterback under you. And you fumble the ball, that's a problem. That's a problem.
That's been a problem in camp. I mean, what's going on?
Like, that's what I'm saying. You know, there's not like somebody's lining up over you, pushing you down. You just throwing the ball all over the place, and that just can't happen.
Right.
So I agree with Jabbar as far as the kicking game is concerned. You see them making changes on the kicking game. You know, brought in another kicker, and they're pushing people, but obviously, they, like we said, they love Woodside because now Deshaun Kaiser is gone, and they brought in the golden boy from California, Matt Barkley.
I'm glad you brought that up because Taylor was asking what's the deal with the Barkley signing, and so you know it's a surprise to me. I wouldn't have never thought that they would have brought Matt Barkley in, but
I didn't think so either, man.
I know Vrabel he loves Woodside, and you know I guess to bring him in for some competition to push Woodside. I didn't think Matt Barkley is a good quarterback at all, in my opinion. You know, he's been one of those journeymen in the NFL since he's been in there. He came out of USC with a lot of hype, and I didn't think he was a good college quarterback either. And so, you know, I just see it as competition. I don't think he'll make the roster. I could be wrong, but you know, it is what it is right now.
I see him as somebody who's a veteran, semi-familiar with the system, only to give Woodside, like you said, the competition, and also give Vrabel time to bring him along. But we might as well face it. Woodside is our number 2.
Yeah.
Vrabel's set in stone on that. I think you'll see Woodside take 75-80% of the snaps in the preseason games. But I think to your point, this is somebody that knows the offense. It can push Woodside a little bit better. And they obviously didn't like what they were seeing out of Kaiser the first 4 or 5 days of camp, and got him up out of here quick.
Yeah, they really did. And that's amazing to me. But the only thing I will say, if there's a good thing about Matt Barkley, is that when you watch them play for other teams, he has been, for lack of a better term, functional.
Yes.
He's been functional. He's able to, if somebody gets hurt during a game, he's able to finish a game. He's the problem you have, though, you know, the offense, what I've noticed about him, and when he plays, the offense slows down considerably. And that's a problem. Then the thing about it is, I think one thing they're counting on is the running game really being substantial this year. So I think that's what they're looking at with him, and they want him to be able to be functional in that position as quarterback, to make plays but not have to carry the team. The running game is going to carry the team as usual. Regardless of the fact that Derrick Henry hasn't been playing much and camp hadn't been practicing much, they are counting on him carrying the team again this year.
Exactly. Let me get this comment in. Dion says, Vrabel must have had a Dion reality moment about being DC. I thought I was built like The Rock until I stepped in front of the mirror in the tank top. So thank you for the comments, man. Thank you for the comments. Will says he guarantees the defense has more than 15 sacks in week 17 going into 18. I agree with you.
Oh, yeah. Agree.
You know, Woodside, who else is out there for a backup quarterback? You know, Nick Foles, I don't know. I was going to say Carlton Ross said that. So, you know, he's a Bears guy.
That's a Bears fan trying to get rid of Nick Foles is what it is. He's scared he's going to see him again.
Right. So, you know, like I said, the defense has been dominating camps, especially on the interior line. Cody Hollister hits the IR this week. He hasn't got injured during the week. We already mentioned that. Marcus Johnson is a name that's been making noise here lately. 6'1", 207. He was off the practice squad from the Colts last year, but he's finding some chemistry out there with Tannehill Woodside and making some plays out there along with Racing McMath. And so, Hollister was probably going to be a special teams guy if he made the 53, but that 4 and 5 position is still wide open, and Marcus Johnson could be, solidifying his name in one of those spots.
Yeah, it's what we're seeing in this camp, and I brought it up last week. We got competition at the wide receiver position. Now, again, you want to see how they look when the real pads come on, even in preseason, but it's going to make some tough choices because, I can see this team easily keeping 6 to 7 wide receivers. And I think if we see them keep 6 or 7, then I think you see a slight philosophy change where I still think we built around the run, but then I also think if we built around the run, we will go more spread, which I've been screaming for, run the ball out of the 3-wide formation and make the defense have to pick when you don't load up the box. So if we decide to keep 7, I think we can do that. But I think that's what we're seeing is we got a lot of competition. You're seeing a lot of young guys. And again, I attribute that to Julio Jones. When you got a Hall of Famer, it goes back to what G. Witt said last week when we had Randy Moss. Everybody else wants to elevate their game. And so you're seeing Marcus Johnson, you're seeing a lot of the rookies still come in and having a very successful camp right now.
Right, exactly.
And again, what you're seeing also is that these guys, these veterans, like I said, Jack Rabbit, Julio Jones, they're coaching, man. They're coaching on the field. And again, that doesn't do anything but just help the team out because, they can come up to a player and say, and ask the question, why did you cut that route off like this? Here's what you need to be doing. And when you got a Hall of Famer potential in Julio Jones, and you got somebody like Jack Rabbit who's aggressive, what you're seeing is these jokers, man, are actually getting out there teaching them, like, this is the technique you need to use. The coaches have been telling them that, but now they're seeing from a player, tell them, if you do this, man, you're able, with your talent, you can do this and go. And like you said, with Jack Rabbit, even recognizing the fact that Farley is coming in, is probably going to be taking his spot or somebody's spot, then, this is making the team better. And they want to win, but it's amazing, man. It's fun to watch.
Right. Yeah, Jack Rabbit's telling them how to get away with holding, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always good to have a veteran.
They said Fulton probably would have had a couple of PIs on some of these plays he's had to do.
Right. I mean, you've got the old guy, the old school. I say old guys. The old school guys have to, they have to give those tips, right? Because the officials aren't going to always call the game the same way. And so week to week, you're going to have, depending on what crew it is, everybody knows some of the crews call DPI more than others. Some of them let you be more aggressive in some cases. And so you've got to know how to take advantage of those situations so that you won't get beat every time down the field. Because right now, the way the game is played and the way the game is officiated, it's geared toward offense, right?
Yeah.
It's geared toward high scoring. And so the defense is really at a disadvantage because of you can't even breathe on a receiver. Now you get pass interference. And so it's good to get those pointers out there from that experience.
That's the defensive guy coming out of you right there. I can tell that.
Hey, man. Hey, what can I say? Like I said, I'm excited the D-line is dominating. That's my group right there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But so let's tonight, let's look at some more positions. We're going to break down the front 7, the D-line and the linebackers, and we'll start with the D-line tonight, and then we'll move on into our third quarter schedule review. And so, right off the rip, we got to look at that front 3 because I think the front 3 has been solidified as of right now. With Jeffrey Simmons on one side, you got Danico Archer on the other, free agent signee. He brings in 7.5 sacks from the Colts last year. And then you got Teair Tart, man, in the nose tackle position. And Teair Tart, quiet as kept, he has been having an outstanding camp.
Yeah, he's giving challenges to that offensive line, which is what you want to see. Especially when you stop and think about, Ben Jones not being in there. Yeah, Teair Tart's supposed to come in and dominate, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to see him going toe-to-toe with a backup center who can't snap the ball. You want to see him dominate that guy. Seriously. I mean, that's what you want to see.
I agree.
You want to see him dominate him, and because Danico Archer and Jeffrey Simmons, what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. What they've been working on and what you've been seeing is the get off. Right. Getting off at the snap. Danico Archer is very violent with his hands. And again, the thing you like is the fact that he's actually helping to coach up the guys that are on the line. You see them, and this is what you want to see. Mm-hmm. Not only do you see the competition, but you see how everybody is building this team to win.
Right.
They're not talking about you know, I'm here to get my paycheck. I'm here to win. Everybody wants to win. And in order to do that, you got to help the next man coming behind you. Because if you have to be out for a play, like, let's be honest, when we played against the Colts in Indianapolis and Buckner was out, you saw our offensive line dominate.
They did. You're exactly right.
The Colts defensive line in that defense. And they made the mistake when they, you know, the guy kicked Derrick Henry in the head, and he's just like, okay, you want to play?
It was on there.
It's on. So you don't want to see that coming from the guys behind you. You want to see them to be able to stand tall and give you a break to come out the game. So yeah, this defensive line is going to be awesome to see. I can't wait. It might go back to that 2008 front four that we had when we had the A-Town stop, Albert Hainsworth, you know, Kyle Van Bosch. You had James Jones, and you had James, and you had Kurtz. You like that? That front four was like, who you gonna block? You know, and that's the thing about it. So that front four was awesome. So I'm looking for the same thing with this front three on this defense. I'm thinking that Jeffrey Simmons is already a monster, already. Exactly. And you're talking about teams won't be able to double team them. It's gonna be on, man. It's gonna be on.
I think the silver lining in that excuse of a defense we had last year was a lot of these young players getting that playing experience, and we see them building on that this year. I think about your Tierra Tarts. I think about your Big Murchison. He's had a nice camp too. So it's good to see to Grover's point, to G-Witt's point. It's good to see some depth because we need to be. We can't have Archery and Simmons playing 90% of the snaps. Get them, spell them, and you want to be able to have these young guys come in there and do that. And we're seeing a lot of competition again on this D line, and it's just they're flying to the ball, they're getting off the ball quick. I mean, they're in the backfield at the hole. I've seen a lot of good gap penetration and gap control, gap discipline rather. So it's good to see that to where it only makes the defense better. But I really think the playing experience that a lot of these rookies and undrafted rookies we got last year playing is going to pay off this year.
Right. And mention the depth that is on the defensive line, because here's a couple more names that I think that's pretty interesting during a camp. Naquan Jones. Naquan Jones is having a good camp. Kyle Pico is having a good camp. And so you got some depth there. You know, you got Trevon Coley. He's a free agent they picked up in the offseason. Anthony Rush, the same. And so you got some guys there that are unknowns, excuse me. But there is some quality of depth there. And I think, you know, with the three that we mentioned as the starters, and then you have Murchison coming back for his second year, which he played pretty solid last year. You got Naquan Jones and Kyle Pico. So you got 5 to 6 guys right there that can provide some quality minutes on this defensive front. And not to mention, they're not going to always be in the 3-4 defense. They'll be in some nickel defense. They'll be in some 4-2-5. And so you'll see different looks. But, you know, I like where we are as far as this. Now, you know, the depth behind those guys, they'll have to grow up quick because, you know, injuries could play a major factor in how good the defensive front is. And so,
absolutely.
Right. And so we got to get those guys ready to play. And so, you know, that's the front, that's the starters in our minds. And I think everybody would agree to that. Let's look at the linebackers, and then I'm gonna get in a couple more of the questions that we got going on in the chat, because it's coming fast and furious. So, you know, we got Harold Landry, we got Jayon Brown. It was good to have Jayon Brown sign back. Rashad Evans, we got Bud Dupree, if he's the week one guy. If not, you probably see John Simon. You might even see Rashad Evans out there and David Long on the inside. You know, we never know. But, you know, you like that four coming out on week one, because you got Bud Dupree, who's strong in the pass and the run. And you got Harold Landry, that's a good pass rush. And, you know, and this week also came out, if you heard, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the outside linebacker coach said Harold Landry needs to work on more pass rush moves. He wants him to develop more than just the speed rush.
Well, the thing about it, he can't use the speed rush. Right. They have told him you cannot use the speed rush in camp. So Harold Landry has no other option but to continue to try to develop a new move, because the coach is like, if you see the speed rush, they're not going to count it. Right. So, you know, he's got to develop more moves and everything. And of course, you know, it's easy when you're playing 95% of the snaps on defense, you just stick with your bread and butter. But the problem is, like what we saw last year, was that everybody has caught up with that bread and butter move. Right. So now you have got to develop. So that's smart coaching to me, is making him Like if you can't use it, if you use it, we're shutting you down. You can't use your speed rush. So now Harold Landry is having to work. And you know, I'm sorry to butt in like that, but I had to get that in because I just thought that was a great coaching move by that outside linebacker coach to like, no, you can't use that move anymore. You can't use it, you know, and that's a great thing.
Exactly. Go ahead, Mr. Lou. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no. All I was gonna say is, you know, outside of the top guys you named, for week 1 starters, let's not sleep on the rookie Rashad Weaver.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's number 99. Man, he's gonna be something special. Just watching the tape on him in the film, I love it. I mean, I know he's got some legal issues. I think he gave a great football answer this past week with the media. I mean, he gets an A+ for that. Great football answer. You know, he just wants to stick to football, but I really think if they could develop him, you're looking at him. I know Monty Rice is another speed rusher that we got as a rookie. They can kind of spell some of these edge rushers to where we're not having a real big drop off when we're going to our speed rush packages, or we got to spell Landry. Because I really think after week 8, Landry was done last year. He had played too much ball, and we can see when he can be special when he's not having to be on the field as much. So I think I like what I've seen so far to Kevin. You got Derek Robertson coming back again, who we saw come on at the end of the year. So I really think that it's going to be special. Again, mark my words, I think we see Pro Bowl caliber play out of both Rashad Evans and Jayon Brown this year because they're in a contract year.
Oh yeah, no doubt, because we already know the cap is going up next year with all the TV deals that are kicking in, and so you know Amazon, ESPN, all the new deals, even Peacock's gonna have some games through NBC, and so a lot of money to be made next year. Cap's going up, and so people are gonna be playing lights out. And you mentioned Rashad Weaver, and I didn't fail to mention him. I was going to mention him, but I like him as well. Mr. J. Lou, he's 6'4", 259 pounds, and can run, can rush the passer, can play the edge strong. And so I look to see big things out of him as well in his first year. You know, you mentioned David Long Jr. We got some good depth at linebacker. I really like the depth. John Simon was the recent signee. Jan Johnson's a rookie. You know, you mentioned Monty Rice. BJ Bellows, a special teams guy. Wyatt Ray's going to probably be a special teams guy. And then Derek Roberson, when he's healthy, you know, we saw him rush the quarterback a few times. And so a lot of young guys in the linebacker group in that back four behind that defensive line, and with speed, that can run, that can tackle. And you got to like what his team is sitting so far with all this depth. On paper, it looks good, but again, we've got to see what it looks like on the field when it comes this weekend coming up when they go into Atlanta and see that performance down there.
Hey, look, I got to bring this up because when I saw it, I was a bit stunned. But basically, Jim Haslett said that Rashad Evans' game last year was not as bad as everybody said.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, I you know, I guess I'm not an NFL coach, so I'm gonna yield to their expertise all the way. You know, I gotta say that, but I'm sorry. You know, what I saw out of Rashad Evans last year, I was disappointed tremendously, and it could be just the fact that he played so well in 2019 that my expectations of him were way too high. But I'm gonna say last year was a huge disappointment for me. I'm not sure what Haslam is looking at, but again, he's an NFL coach and I'm not. So he may see things that I definitely, with my fanboy eyes, I don't know. You know, I'll be honest. But hey, look, y'all, clue me in. What did I miss?
You know, go ahead, Mr. Lou, and I'll give my points after you finish yours.
I mean, all I can say is maybe Haslett was just trying to be a nice coach, because I mean, it just on paper, when you saw Jayon Brown go out and Evans had the chance to really step up, it didn't happen. I mean, too many times, I think about that playoff game when I'm sitting in the crowd and he definitely gets put on skates by being the spy and gets put on skates by Lamar Jackson. He was out of position a few times. To me, it looked like, and again, to give the little silver line that we gave earlier, it could be a lot of the communication. You know, he was wearing the green dot. Who knows who's all in his ear trying to give him plays, whether it's Bowman, whether it's Brable, et cetera. So he could have been doing too much. that affected his play. So and maybe that's what Haslett's saying, but he's got the best position you can be in as a linebacker in his position. He's got a proven year this year because all the naysayers said he was terrible, and now he's got a chance to go really make that money.
So here's my point. Here's my take on that. And somebody mentioned it, and I think it was Dion and even Taylor. Taylor says Haslam's using psychology. And I agree. And then Dion says it makes you look a little bit closer at Haslett's credentials. And so I agree. So, one thing about Vrabel and that Belichickian tree is they don't come out and call out a lot of people in the media.
No.
And they don't. And so I think that's what that was, because to that point when Jayon Brown went out, and me and G talked about it a lot last season, is that when Rashad Evans was in there, you didn't know he was in there. He disappeared. And so for him to come out and say that he didn't play as bad as people thought, I think it was just a pub thing, a PR thing to try not to, make a big deal over it. But I'm sure he's been put on notice in this camp that we will not be negotiating a contract with you after this season if you come out and play like that. Because your middle linebacker, come on, guys, think about it. Your middle linebacker should not be disappearing from the football game. I'm sorry.
No.
Hey, look. I said it last year. I said it at the beginning before camp started. There is no way that your second leading tackler on the team should be a cornerback. And really, your safety should not be your leading tackle. It should always be your linebacker.
Yes.
Because you got to stop the run. You are the one who's got to stop the quarterback when he takes off running. And you're the one who's got to tackle the tight end coming across the middle. Mm-hmm. Anybody coming across the middle, that should be your domain. There is no way that you should, linebacker should not be the lead tackler. It shouldn't be happening. So, again, I think a lot of what we saw last year, and that's what they're looking at, is that you saw a lot of undisciplined play out of Rashad Evans. Mm-hmm. You mentioned, Jayla, you mentioned about the playoff game with Lamar Jackson. Once again, he tries to go after him and takes a wrong angle. Mm-hmm. Goes outside. You don't, and your responsibility is the middle. You're the one supposed to keep him in the pocket. Stay in your lane. Quit trying to make plays you're not supposed to make.
Stay in your lane, bro.
Stay in your lane. So, like I said, maybe he is using reverse psychology because they're beating up everybody else. I mean, Christian Fulton got talked about by Vrabel.
He did.
And all of a sudden you see him. He's stepping up like, I got to make plays. I'm going to be out of here. Same thing they're talking about with Daniel Ruiz from North Dakota State. They're trying to build him up because they're like, he's not making the plays he's supposed to be making.
Well, he got baptized this past week. Let's just put it out there. He got baptized into the NFL. So
yes, he did.
But it's about to get worse for him, man. That's what I'm saying, and they want him to step up. So I don't know if Haslett is using reverse psychology or what, but I'm kind of like Dion. You got to look at his credentials, man. Does he really know what he's talking about?
You do. That makes you wonder too, man. If some of those issues was the coaching. So I'm just saying.
Did I not say that last year? Did I not say that?
I'm just saying.
I was concerned about the coaching because I'm seeing the same mistakes all the time.
Exactly.
It goes back to what I said. I think Amy Adams is a great owner for us, but she's not going to be one that you see in the media. She leaves the football to the football people.
Right.
However, back in January, she had a behind the door meeting with them, and that's probably why you see Schwartzy on the sideline to kind of help mediate and level out this defense, because he brings a lot of defense experience. He brings a lot of aggressiveness, and for him to be on the staff and not really have a real role, I think that's to maybe make Vrabel actually have to be that CEO and get his hands out the pot.
Yeah,
exactly. And so, guys, that's our position breakdown of the defensive line and linebackers. A lot of youth, a lot of good depth, some good experience with Denico Autry. Again, I'm gonna say Denico Autry is my dude, man. I'm rolling with him this year. He's gonna be the under the radar MVP of this defense, man, because he's gonna cause havoc up front. Hey, I could be wrong, but I just think he's gonna be a good fit for this defense and what they're trying to do this year. And so as we look at the third quarter of the schedule, it doesn't get any easier, guys. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. You look at it and, we come back and we have to take on the Rams on the road in LA. And, truth be known, the Rams gave Green Bay all they could handle in the playoffs. And if Aaron Donald probably wasn't hurt, they might have pulled off an upset. You had the number one defense.
They would have won that game.
Right. They had the number one defense going in after the regular season last year, and just had some injuries down the stretch. So, and they come after the stretch of the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Colts, and so three tough games in a row. Then you got to go on the road after going to Indy and play the LA Rams with Matthew Stafford behind the helm, and so Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald back, and they've added some new pieces as well to this football team, man. And it just doesn't get any easier. I just don't see how. Again, I'll bring it up as we talked about last week. I just don't see how people are saying that this schedule is easy. I just don't see it. I don't see nothing easy on this schedule.
Nah.
Yeah, now that's not an easy schedule at all. I think the only thing you say about the Rams right now is what are they going to do at the running back position? Unfortunately, Cam went down with ACL.
Right.
But that's still a tough game. I mean, Aaron Donald against that. He's one on the front four that can move around any position. So we already know he's going to find our weak spot on the line. And then how do we double? What's our protection packages there? We know we got to try to run the ball. You got Jalen Ramsey, who probably will be on AJ Brown.
Right.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest, because AJ's our number one. He'll be on AJ Brown. So how does Tannehill react to that? I mean, this is Sunday night primetime game. So, they're going to be juiced up in LA for that game. So, to go on the road after you've had 3 straight AFC games that have playoff potentials, you hope that they can still find a way to muster it up. And hopefully being on Sunday night helps them, get that jacked up and juiced up. But to your point, Ed, coming from Buffalo, Kansas City, and then a divisional game with Indy, that LA's a tough game. And the only other saving grace I got is Matt Stafford. He can keep you in the game. He can lose the game, he can win it, so he can keep you in the game. But I think that's a tough battle on that Sunday night.
Yeah, that depends on which Matt Stafford you get, because Matt Stafford, he's similar to Phillip Rivers. He will always give you a shot in the game. But what you're going to see, though, and again, I think with this schedule that we getting with the teams that we're playing, Eddie, you're exactly right. This schedule is top notch. I mean, it's one of the worst. It's one of the toughest ones in the league. And I know people say your schedule is based on the previous year's record, but still, the bottom line is this schedule is going to be rough. But going back to playing in LA on a Sunday night, that's going to be interesting because really, when you stop and think about the Titans, their late night games are not really been their best games. In all honesty, it's kind of weird about that, but. They play good at noon. They play good in the late afternoon, but the nighttime games have never really been their forte, even under Brady. Let's just be honest about it. But here's the thing about it: if this defense is as advertised as we're seeing in camp, then if we are still running the ball effectively, we got a shot at that game. That negates Jalen Ramsey, because one thing we know about Jalen Ramsey,
he'll make a business decision.
Business decisions, yes.
He's making business decisions. He's not going to try to tackle. So the bottom line is, if we're able to run the ball, if we're able to get past Aaron Donald and that front four, then we're going to have a shot in that game. But by that time of the season, again, that's when the running game comes to the forefront. The offensive line should be greased up and ready to go, loose and able to block, and that's going to be Derrick Henry time, and he's got the big plays. And bottom line, again, Darrington Evans is going to be a key this year. He's got to be able to run between the tackles, man.
That's right. He's got to. He can't be the guy that when they bring him into the game that, we know they're not going to run the ball because he's not going to run between the tackles. He's got to be the guy that could do it all, like you said. And that's why they drafted him a couple years ago, right? Because Appalachian State, he's a kick returner. He was on the field 90% of the time, receiving the ball out of the backfield, running the ball. The guy has the stats to prove that he's a playmaker. And so he just got to be used that way. And so as you look at this offense, we talked about Matthew Stafford taking the place of Jared Goff. They still got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. They added Deshaun Jackson, Tyler Higbee, tight end after Jared Everett went to the Seahawks. And so the offense is there. They like to run a lot of that. I'm going to call it candy, showroom dressing. They do a lot of motion, a lot of, window dressing, get you looking at one thing and then come back and hit you another way. And so another tough game on the road after a divisional game. You're right, Mr. Lou, a tough stretch there. But I agree with you, Grover. By this time of the season, this team, this offense should be ready to go. This defense should be well beyond where they should be. And we should see a good football team. It's going to be a good game, man. All these games going to be good. Like I said, the only two that I see so far, and we'll get to another here in just a minute, is Jacksonville and the Jets that I would say, okay, we could get those. But the other ones, they could go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then we come home and we got the Saints. Of course, this is not the Drew Brees Saints. You know, Drew Brees retired, and so they got a battle going on between Jameis Winston and my mind is Drew Blank.
Yeah, we all
Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill. Okay, I'm sorry.
Taysom Hill.
My mind Drew Blank. Forgive me on that. You know, but you know, as me and Mr. J. Lou said on Midweek Heat podcast, Alvin Kamara makes this offense go. And if they don't run Alvin Kamara at least 30 times in the game or let him have 30 touches at least, this offense is not the same. You know, Michael Thomas is out right now. Traquan Smith, Deontay Harris, a receiver. But the question mark is Jameis Winston going to be the 30-30 guy, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions? Or is he going to do something else? Can Sean Payton work miracles with this guy? The defense is solid, right? The defense is there. They got Cameron Jordan still there, Marcus Davenport. The secondary is good. Malcolm Jenkins, Marcus Williams, Marshawn Lattimore. So tough game again, but it's at home. And, you know, it's going to be, again, another matchup that's playoff potential.
Well, Saints have got some things going on that's really confusing to me. I mean, there's something going on between the Saints and Thomas, Michael Thomas, man. There's something going on there that has not been given out yet. So to be fair, I don't think James is going to be the 30-30 guy. I don't think Sean Payton is not going to put up with that. Let's just be real about it. Right. The question is going to be if Jameis cannot make it. Let's just be real about it. If he cannot make it, Taysom Hill, as good as he is, he's not the guy that's going to win you a bunch of games. He's just not. So the question is going to come down to who do they bring in to you know, because if Jameis can't, they want Jameis to be the man. They definitely want him to be the man because truth will be known, he's the better quarterback. You know, Taysom Hill, let's be honest about it. He's a gadget man. He can play, but he's a gadget man. But they want Jameis Winston to be the quarterback, and that's going to be the question. So, but we all know Jameis will get. He's notorious for giving you an opportunity. So, So I mean, because really, his last year in Tampa Bay, they had a good squad. He was just notorious for turning the ball over.
Right.
You know, so I don't know, man, but it's going to be interesting to watch the Saints this year because they're going to lean heavily on that defense and Alvin Kamara. And if Kamara gets hurt, they are pretty much done.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a simple game plan on this game. You come in, I want Jameis to have to beat me. As a Titan fan, you hope that, you know, the week before New Orleans has had one of those games where Jameis has went off and Sean Payton start feeling happy and he'll forget that Alvin Kamara's on his team and he won't touch the ball when they come here. Because if Jameis is having to throw it 40, 50 times, then that looks good for the Titans. In all honesty, because I mean he's going to give you at least 3 picks in that game. And as good as the Saints defense is, as solid as it is, I think it's getting a little older. And they can be ran on. I think this is a game. You know, you like these type of games in November when you got a dome team coming outside.
True.
True. You know, you want our front seven and on the O-line and the D-line to impose their will. The Saints can be a little finesse sometimes. So you hoping that this is where you see, to Grover's point earlier, this is where you start seeing the Tennessee Titans that we know, the run game and the physicality pick up when it gets November. It's getting a little cooler outside. So this is one that I think the Titans should win. But again, a nice matchup when you look at it on paper.
Exactly. And I agree with you, Deion. Deion says, to be fair, Darrington Evans is not Deion Lewis. Yeah, we all agree to that. We just saying the way that he's used and you know, when he runs the ball, he needs to be run effectively. And I would say about what I mean by that is not dancing in the backfield, go ahead and hit in the hole. And we saw it last year when he carried the ball, when he was healthy. And he ran the ball good. And so we just said he's going to be the key to making this offense go as Derrick Henry needs to come out and get spells throughout the game.
And that's the whole key, man. And really, you know, no, he's not Deion Lewis, but the bottom line is for him, he's got to be that dual threat guy. He's got to be the threat to run the ball as well as catch the ball out the backfield. He can't be one or the other. The problem they had with Deion Lewis is that, he could run the ball, but nobody was afraid of him.
Right.
I mean, no, he put no fear in anybody. And Darrington Evans has got to come in to be able to make people say, we got to watch this guy because he can break it on us. You know, he's got to be that type of running back. Deion Lewis was not that guy. He put no fear in anybody. And that's about great in pass pro. Great in pass protection, but he definitely did not scare a defense. He did not make them think. They were like, we ain't got to worry about him running the ball. Even if he does run, we're going to stop him. But we got to be, Darrington Evans got to be the guy that says, we got to watch him running the ball, because if we don't tackle him, he will make us look foolish and take it to the house.
Exactly. And so after that game, we go to, we got the Houston Texans at home, and that's week 11, November 21st. And so, the question here is Deshaun Watson. Now, he hadn't been in camp. Tyrod Taylor's been getting out of 13 snaps. And so, Houston's in I'm going to say in a little bit of a rebuild mode. They still got David Johnson, starting running back. They picked up Phillip Lindsay from the Broncos. They even got Mark Ingram on the roster. Brandon Cooks, Chris Conley, Nico Collins at receivers. The offensive line is what it is. It's weak. They got Tunsil at left tackle, but then they added a few more pieces in the offseason. But it's been the weakness of that team for a few years now. The defense is still going to be pretty solid. Zach Cunningham, Whitney Merciless, and you got Vernon Hargreaves in the secondary along with Eric Murray and Justin Reed. And so a divisional game, Houston always plays us tough. They don't like the Titans dominating them, but it's a team that's in the rebuild mode, to be honest. I mean, let's just put it out there. It's a rebuild mode, especially at quarterback. And so what are you going to do at quarterback? Now, I don't know if Lovie Smith's going to run a 3-4 defense. I doubt it. He's a Tampa 2 guy. And so he's a defensive coordinator. So you'll see some Tampa 2, I'm going to say, potentially, but I could be wrong. But he's typically a 4-3 Tampa 2 guy. And, and in Houston, it's going to be a tough game, regardless of how you see it. Whatever kind of talent it is, because it's the NFL and it's a divisional game.
Yeah, now this is.
Go ahead, Jabo. Go ahead, Jabo.
This is one of those ones where we mentioned it earlier. You got to win the games you're supposed to win. And this is not a game that the Titans can afford to lay an egg, because this just be you would be a nice call in Houston and rebuild. I don't even think what they do.
Boogeyman Gamer said the same thing, man. He said, he said, just say it. They horrible. Just say it. Okay, man. Okay.
Thank you. So I mean, this is week 1 of the Vrabel reunion tour. Because the following week we got another Vrabel old team. So I think this is one where you got it circled. There's bad blood between the ownership groups. You punch them in the mouth and move on. So this is that one, to your point, Ed, and this is where you don't want the Titans to play around in this game.
Right.
You got to jump out, get on them, take their will in the beginning, and move on and come out injury free. But yeah, this is Houston. Divisional game or not, we should win this one.
Well, the good thing about this game is how late it is in the season. So the bottom line is that in November there will not be any surprises. The bottom line is, to quote my man Dennis, they will be who they are. Bottom line, they will be who they are. So, but like you said, they are an NFL team. And an NFL team, regardless of how bad they are, they can beat you on any given Sunday.
Exactly.
Just ask the people about the Jets. As bad as they were last year, towards the end of the season, they started winning games. So the bottom line is, like you said, J. Lou, you got to come in and you got to attack them. You got to put them on skates early, and you got to finish them. You can't let them come back. You can't say, we're going to build up this 21-point lead, and then we're just going to coast the rest of the game. No, this is an NFL team. They got to play 48. They got to play the full 60 minutes of football. So do you. You go in there and you make sure you take care of business. Yeah, if you up by 20 points with 8 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, you start bringing in people in, but you tell them you still finish this game.
Yes.
You don't go in here thinking we're going to take it easy. No, you go in there and you finish the game, because the bottom line is they can come back. And let's think about it. You will know who they are by that time. So you'll know what kind of team you're going to be running up against. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I did not remember that Lovie Smith was their DC. So bottom line is the defense is going to be good.
Hey man, that's why halftime adjustments is what it is, because we got the info.
The defense is going to be good. Let's just be real about that.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be good.
No matter who's out there.
They're going to play that Tampa 2. They're going to play cover 2 defense, and they're going to tackle. Lovie Smith does not play when it comes to tackling, so they will tackle well, and they're going to be tackling Derrick Henry well. Derrick Henry's going to struggle. He's not going to be 2.5 bills on him again. I guarantee you, Lovie is not going to let that happen. They will tackle him. But As long as he's that threat to break it, then it's going to be fine. I'm just curious about Derrick Henry because his best blocker is now playing for the Jets. So it's going to be interesting to see how
Well,
he
and
does.
so that's interesting that you brought that up because Taylor was asking about Blasingame. So Blasingame in camp, he's actually bigger. He said, you know, he talked about it. He put on some size. They didn't tell him exactly how big to get, but you know, he does a great job lead blocking for Derrick Henry. And you know, I'm hoping, and this is go back. Dion said something earlier. Do we think the offense is going to look like the Heimerdinger offense that was, you know, kind of wide open, 3 wide receiver set, single back? I don't know if it'll get to that point. You know, the makeup of this team is a little bit different because of the running back that we have. But I do hope, and to Mr. Lou's point, that we see more 3 and 4 wide receiver sets where it'll open up the running lanes for Derrick Henry. And this team, we already know this team could put up points last year. You know, we've got to wait to see what Todd Downing is going to do. If he's going to spread it out more and throw, you know, on first down more, dink and dunk, you know, whatever the case may be. But I do think you'll see the just about, if not the same points, probably just a little less, but still they'll score a lot of points, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But get some more comments in, man. And so, yeah, Dion says treat every team like a playoff game, take no prisoners.
I agree.
Boogeyman says if we lose to the Texans, get ready for 2022, 2023. So, hey, man, we good. Hey, but see, here's another interesting fact is as we were going through the schedule, is this by this time after this game, that would be the 4th divisional game in those first 12 weeks. And so a lot of the line in those first 4 weeks, in those first 12 games, if you can come out 4-0,
4-0,
or 3-1 out of the division before your bye week, I mean, man, you're sitting kind of good as far as playoff implications go. And so, Mr. J, you already mentioned that the reunion tour continues on because they got to go to Foxborough the week after that and face Brady, face Belichick and Cam Newton or
whoever's going
to be the quarterback, Mac Jones, maybe, we don't know. But, you know, it's going to be a tough game. They reloaded on the Patriots did. You got Damian Harris and Sony Michel running the football. You got Aguilar. You know, the receivers are not really big name guys, but they got some guys that'll work for that system. You know, the tight end position is what's the most impressive with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Offensive line is pretty solid, and the defensive side of the ball is what's going to be the problem because you know that Belichick is going to take away something. He's either going to take away Derrick Henry or attempt to, or he's going to take away the passing game, make Tannehill make tough decisions. And so they got the secondary they can match up. You know, they got Gilmore, who's out right now. I don't know if he's got an injury, if he's been held out because of contract reasons.
Whoa!
But you can assure he's going to be on A.J. Brown potentially. And then J.C. Jackson will probably be on Julio Jones. And so it's going to be a tough game. They picked up Matt Judon to play outside linebacker, who knows, who we all know that gave us fits when he played for Baltimore. And so it's going to be a tough game. It's in New England. And, you know, Belichick's probably going to be looking for a little revenge after Vrabel went up and made him look silly in that playoff game a couple of years ago.
Wait a minute, hold on. 2 years in a row, he made him look silly.
Yes.
So, you know, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be another tough one.
Yeah. It's going to be. Here's the thing you got to know about it. I mean, Belichick's defense will be back in full force.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that's going to be the key. So, you know, they're going to be vying for that number 1 defense again with Belichick coaching them and with all the players they got coming back. It's going to be a tough game. He's not going to allow Derrick Henry to run on him. But again, it may be one of those things where he's going to say, you know, we're not going to let them have, you know, because when we played them in the playoffs, his whole mantra was like, they're not going to have big plays on us. That was the bottom line. He was like, they're not going to have big plays on us. And what he found out was that the big play guy was actually Derrick Henry. And so now you don't know what he's going to do. Again, it puts this offense in a good light because you got to pick your poison with him. And that's going to be hard, especially if Julio can stay healthy throughout the season. That's going to be hard. If that receiving core is going to as good as advertised, that's going to make it hard to pick your poison with this offense because you're going to, one or the other is going to have to be, but my personal thing is that Tannehill is going to be the one they're going to be willing to go with because Tannehill still has not proven that he can carry this team to a victory. He just hasn't done that yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree. Belichick's definitely going to have a good game plan after he's embarrassed a few times on this one. Our best weapon is actually going to be playing for New England, I think, in Jonnu Smith. So how does our defense attack tight ends? Because let's be honest, you named Hunter Henry. They got two. They love to run 2 tight end sets.
They do,
and we struggle at covering tight ends.
Yeah.
So I think that's a key matchup in the game, and I also think that a key matchup for us from a Titan standpoint, this is a Josh Reynolds breakout game. I think our slot receiver comes up big in this game because again they go great at cornerback. So do you put McCourty, their safety, on our slots since we don't really have a strong tight end? And if you do that, I like our slot receiver better than McCourty on that. So I think you will really see a lot of chess plays between Belichick and Vrabel in this game. And Vrabel has had some success. He's one of the few out of the Belichickian tree that actually has had Belichick's number. So I'll be interested to see how that goes this time around. And I also think that again, if it's a Cam Newton led team, and I honestly think Cam's gonna come back and have a decent year, then that's another wild card because that's where we really have to see gap discipline with our front seven because Cam is as quiet as it's kept can still beat you with his legs.
He can.
Yeah.
He can. I agree with you.
I'm sorry, Ed, but I'm going to agree with Taylor. I think Mac Jones is probably going to be starting for the Patriots by then, man.
You think so?
Do.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. And you might be right. I like both of y'all's points on that as well. And so and one thing you brought up, G, is that remember last year a lot of the guys on the defense side of the ball opted out, and so they're back this year, and it's going to make this defense even better. But to your point, the last time we played up in New England in the playoffs, and they had 8-9 guys in the box and still couldn't stop the run. That was kind of disheartening. But like you said, Belichick's gonna have a good game plan. He's gonna attempt to take away Derrick Henry, and we'll see what happens. And we all know that Tannehill throwing the ball 30 or more times is not a good formula for.
It's not a good formula.
No,
but we'll see, man. So that's the first three quarters of the schedule. We got one more quarter review, and we'll do that next week. We'll break down another position. We thank you again, guys, for supporting the show. Go ahead.
Hey, next week, man, we'll be talking about the game because it's Friday night, man.
Yeah,
first preseason game, man. Come on.
Taylor said, "Thanks, Grover. The check is in the mail." Man, he endorsements, man. He getting endorsements off the show. Come on. Come on. But
he missed the wide receiver show, man. So you gotta give him something.
Okay. All right.
He was perfect.
Thank you all for joining us tonight for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Thank you for all the comments and the questions and support of the show. It's your host, Eddie. I'm my man G with my man, Jay Lou. We got practice coming up next Monday afterwards. We got our first preseason game in Atlanta coming up this weekend. And so we have a lot to talk about next week. And we'll look at the offensive line next week and maybe we'll have an answer to right tackle after this first preseason game.
Hey, maybe we'll have an answer at backup center, man, because what we got going on right now ain't a good thing. It's just not a good thing. It's not. Scary.
It's not. Deion says the way to beat a 2 tight end set is with the middle 3 D linemen. Get to the quarterback and kill him before he gets started, and the tight end.
Not kill him.
You're right. No, he's right.
He's absolutely right. The pressure up the middle is our saving grace. So if your guy Ed, your MVP, Archery and Simmons come to play, it's going to be tough to stop this defense because that pressure up the middle is crazy.
If T.R. Tar continues to progress as he is, man, I'm telling you, if you got 3 guys that can penetrate, and then you got the edge rushers coming off, you got Weaver, you got Dupree, you got Landry, you got Roberson, you got those guys coming off the edge, man. It's gonna be nice. Now, and I'm gonna go back to something you said this minute ago, Mr. J. Lou, about the tight ends, and we couldn't cover tight ends. I think this year we're in a better position. You got Elijah Molden, you got Amani Hooker.
Amani Hooker.
You got some guys that can run, and you might even see Christian Fulton in the slot playing some guy, with Caleb Farley. Look I'm gonna tell y'all something. After the show last week, we had G Witt where he was speechless. He's worried about this schedule, y'all. Please, somebody tell him that it's gonna be all right, man. We gonna play some ball this year. We gonna play some ball.
Hey, man, look, I just, the fanboy in me, man, just like I try to temper myself, man, because I get too emotional about these things. You've seen.
Oh
that
yeah, we know.
Oh, yeah.
all the people that watch the show know. Look, Mr. J. Lou, when you was in the crowd last year,
you gotta talk me out the ledge sometimes, man.
I know we try.
But seriously though, in all honesty, I'm really excited about the way this team is going right now. You know, I'm interested. This first preseason game is going to be huge for me, just to see the depth that we have, to see players making plays, getting out there. Because man, we got a tough schedule, man. We just bottom line is we got a tough schedule, and that defense ain't ready. Our defense cannot be like it was last year. It cannot.
Like I said, out of those first 12 games, and this is Eddie Arnedo's viewpoint. Out of those first 12 games, you got 10 playoff teams.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
10-2, 2-10, 8-4, 7-5, 6-6. I mean, think about it. Really, it's tough. We got this team's got to be. Look, Vrabel's gonna have to do his best coaching job this year. Yeah. Right. With the talent on this football team, Amy has invested the money. She's brought the people. They brought the people in, and now it's like, all right. So now y'all say it was the talent. Now you were saying it wasn't the coach. You know, blah blah blah. Now it's on the coaches. I've got you the players. J-Rob's got you the players. Now it's on the coaches to get it done.
Got the players, and they're in camp. They're in training camp.
They're on time. And let's go back to what you just said about Amy's invested in them. Amy threw away $19 million last year and didn't say a word.
She did.
Didn't say a
threw
word.
Away $19 million and didn't say a word. So to your point, Ed, it's put up a shut up for Vrabel and J-Rob, really, because I mean you got the players, you got what you want. Let's go make it work.
Hey, look, it's more on Vrabel and his coaching staff this year, because J-Rob has actually, let's be real about it. He's done a phenomenal job in flipping the script from what happened last year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you think about it. With the head cases you had last year, there are none this year. You know, their problem isn't, you know, does this guy have the right mentality? Their problem is, dude, we need you making plays.
Right.
You call out Christian Fulton, all of a sudden you see him shining in practice, in the game, in the situations. You calling out players, and all of a sudden they're stepping up. So that lets you know that the coaches are having to be on top. The question is going to be really Rashad Evans, and in this front seven, is he going to come to play this year? I don't care what Haslett says. He did not play good last year. I'm sorry.
I agree. I agree.
You know,
with you.
you're a coach, and I give you the props on that, but in my eyes, I didn't see what I needed to see out of Rashad Evans. And truth be known, even our boy Jayon Brown. I mean, he started off the year slow. Let's be real about it. So, you know, we have got to see this front seven come to play, man. Harold Landry, he's got to come up with more moves than just that speed dip rush he got. He's got to come up with more moves. And I'm glad to see the outside linebacker coach telling them that and saying that you can't use that move in camp. You can't use that move in the preseason because you got to come up with something else. So that front seven is key, because if you really think about it, with the time that that offenses had on us last year, our secondary was actually doing some pretty good coverages. They were actually covering fairly decently, but you just can't cover for so long.
Let me see my mic's on. Minus Jonathan Joseph. Thank you.
Exactly. Exactly.
But Deion said,
after they got rid of Jonathan Joseph.
That's right. So Deion said, "Gee, we made the playoffs with one of the worst defenses last year. Couldn't possibly be any worse this year, and we're already looking better than anything we saw last season. Relax, brother."
That's wrong. That is wrong. I'm a true blue football fan. I can tell you, it can always be worse. Remember, Detroit went 0-16.
They did. They did. So it could be worse.
It could be worse.
And so, so that, to me, saying that right there, what that point he just made, the pressure is even more on now, because you won 11 games with a defense that was below average.
Trash.
You won 11 games with a defense below average. And you won 11 games with only one receiver showing up for 95% of the games. The other guy showed up less than that, like 10%. And so now you add a Hall of Famer. Yeah, okay, you lost the tight end, but you got another guy that can run routes and catch. So again, and I agree, Taylor the same way. It's on the coaches now. It's no excuses this year. All right?
Yeah.
So guys, again, thank you for the comments, the questions, the support of the show. Share it, get us out there. And he said, if it gets worse, it's because they tried to do worse. Okay, that's Dion.
Hey, Dion, I like your optimism. Even I have to wait and see on the defense, man.
Oh man, Dion, man. Hey, Dion, we need to bring you on the show one day, man. You funny dude, man. Get you on there with us one day and let you talk football with us. But hey, guys, we appreciate the love of the show. Hey, this is your host Eddie out there with my man, Mr. G Witt.
Tighten up, baby.
G Wood, Mr. J. Lou. This is halftime. We'll see y'all next Sunday. We'll be sending out that information. We'll be on the lookout for it, man. We are out of here. Peace.
Peace.